Anna, give us an update. We're talking about some injury news, fresh injury news for this Alabama football team, specifically again at the defensive side of the ball with Dylan Moses, the true freshman linebacker, reportedly sustaining a season-ending foot injury during yesterday's practice. What does it look like for Clemson? I know they've had some guys beat up in the last month of the season or so, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, but overall, what's sort of the report card in terms of injuries for Dabo Swinney's team going into this playoff?
Overall, pretty healthy, especially because Clemson was able to rest a few of their starters in back-to-back games against the Citadel and Florida State. And those 2 weeks gave guys like Dexter Lawrence, a couple linebackers, a chance to really rest and recuperate. And they looked close to 100% against South Carolina and Miami. And the last time the media really talked to Dab about injuries was a week ago. And the main player that he was a little unsure about was starting Mike linebacker Trey Lamar. He's been listed out for a while with a stinger. They said he really irritated a nerve and it had kind of lost some of his strength in the process. Last week when the team started bowl practice, he did go in pads, but we haven't talked to Dabo since, to see how that went. We do get him tomorrow, so we'll have an update then. And then the other one really to keep an eye on was cornerback Mark Fields, who was out for a while, kind of on and off. He's probably Clemson's best starting press corner, and Dabo said, kind of gave a brief update on that, said he should be fine, but that'll be something I'm a little interested in getting more detail on when we get to talk to Dabo tomorrow.
Some different faces for both these teams, obviously, but for Clemson on offense, one of the guys I felt like was really undervalued the last couple of years, Wayne Gallman, the running back, now in the National Football League. How has Clemson, Anna, gone about replacing Wayne Gallman at running back this year?
Well, Wayne last year received, I think it was over 800 snaps, something like that, ridiculous, and was the feature back. This year it's been much more of a by-committee approach. There's been 4 running backs that have all received a lot of reps. Starting the season, veteran C.J. Fuller was the starter with Adam Choice, who's also a veteran, kind of right behind him. But that season has progressed, and especially these past few games, the underclassmen have taken over, which is kind of to be expected. They're more talented, but they had to learn the nuances of the position, including pass protection. But as they've kind of learned that, developed in that area, they've really taken over the majority of the snaps. I don't know if you're familiar with Travis Etienne.
Yeah,
the
true
former
freshman,
four-star
right?
running back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true freshman out of Louisiana. That
Explosive.
Clemson went head-to-head with LSU to kind of get, last year with recruiting, everyone was after a couple of backs, Najee Harris and Cam Akers, who ended up going to Florida State. So Travis kind of fell through the cracks, but Clemson ended up kind of swooping in at the 11th hour and landing him, and it's really been a godsend for this offense. He's been outstanding the times that he's been able to run the ball. He's only run it about 100 times this year, but he's averaging almost 8 yards per carry. He has 13 scores, and he's forced around 30 missed tackles. So he's a really strong lower body, kind of one cut and go type of back. Will make you miss, but at the same time he'll run you over. So he's also from Jennings, Louisiana. So I know he's looking forward to going back to New Orleans for this game.
Yeah, explosive young back in Etienne, 4 runs of 50 yards or more this season. That tells you what he's able to do once he gets it going. Let me ask you this, Anna, a guy that we're very familiar with over here, a former Alabama player, Todd Bates, takes over as the defensive line coach, really fills the shoes of a couple of departed coaches from last year's staff. Obviously inherited a ton of talent when you look at this Clemson defensive front, but how has that transition gone to Todd Bates, a guy that I remember as being as enthusiastic and as outgoing as any player I've been around here at Alabama?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's definitely his strength. He's an upbeat guy. He's in the short amount of time that he's been with the staff, he's kind of already garnered a reputation as a valuable recruiter. just really genuine person. He's not going to get in your face and yell at you, cuss at you, any of that type of thing. I mean, he's really just kind of a nurturer, which is a little bit different from what Clemson's had in the past with Marion Hobby. So, and then Dan Brooks obviously goes to splitting his duties, but I don't know if I think it's a little too premature to kind of assess how well he's done, just because Clemson did have 4 starters back along the defensive line, and they really haven't gone that deep in their depth. So, and Venables has done a good job with helping with that transition as well. So I think you'll be able to see more how, be able to more assess how he's done in the next couple of years when you have a couple of more young guys starting to get into the rotation. But I do know that when the 10th assistant rule does go into effect, I think that's coming up here January 8th, January 9th, sometime around there, right after the national championship game, the 10th assistant will be a second defensive line coach.
Interesting, because as you noted, that's basically what Clemson had employed in previous years before Todd Bates' arrival here for the 2017 season. As we let you go, Anna, Nick Saban is on record not a big fan at all of this early signing period that's going into effect starting tomorrow. I get the sense, though, that maybe Dabo's a little more receptive to it. Is that sort of the vibe that you get from Dabo, that he's a little maybe more okay with it than Nick Saban is?
Yeah, he's touched on it briefly. It's obviously a question that we want to talk to him about tomorrow, but yeah, he said he's in favor of it, and this was a while back. And I think his main reasoning there is because Clemson doesn't take they don't hardly ever take full classes. They only have 12 commitments right now, and all 12 are expected to sign tomorrow. And I think that's largely just because they get who they want to get, and there's usually not a lot of drama with Clemson. They haven't suffered a decommitment this cycle. So he likes being able to wrap those guys up, do the in-homes earlier, be done with it, and then kind of just focus on those 1 or 2, 3 more guys that they're going to sign in February, and then really turn the page to 2019. He likes being able to kind of come to terms face-to-face with the prospects and say, hey, we want you, you want us, and kind of force both parties to show their hands early. He likes that aspect of it. And, I think probably it's been a lot having to balance bowl practice with recruiting, with the dead period, the contact period, all of that stuff kind of going in together. Because the first year they really had to balance it. So I'm interested to see, now that it's over, his take on it, maybe if it's changed a little bit. But going into it, yeah, no, he was a fan of it, which I think is pretty interesting because pretty much every coach that I've seen comment on it is not in favor of it.